Fiona stared, dumbfounded. It was the same acupressure technique she had just used. She immediately snapped, "How shameless! He's just copying the tri-point technique I used." Tristan Finch's face was serious. After a few seconds, he said, "Look again. Pay attention to his movements." The woman watched him carefully for a moment, and then her eyes went wide with shock. "What is he doing?" she muttered. She recognized the technique Charlie was using. It was indeed the tri-point technique passed down by the Finch family's ancestors. It looked exactly like her own acupuncture method at first, but when she looked closer, she saw some differences. Compared to the tri-point technique she had just used, Charlie's was hitting different pressure points, and his version was far more complex. "Is this an upgraded version of the tri-point technique?" She was stunned. "Grandfather, how can he?" Tristan nodded, watching with a mesmerized, admiring look on his face. "I had no idea," he said. "This young man is a master of both medicine and martial arts. Look how stable his core energy is. The silver needle doesn't waver when he places it, and he's slowly injecting his core energy. Only someone with an energy core developed over 50 years could have such stable core energy. I can't believe his energy core has surpassed mine at such a young age." "Grandfather, give me time. I'll be able to surpass him," the woman said, unconvinced. Tristan sighed, his face still full of admiration. "If I'm seeing this correctly, his entire acupuncture method contains the missing parts of our Finch family's tri-point technique. I never thought I'd see the complete, lost tri-point technique in my lifetime. I am truly lucky." He glanced at his granddaughter. "Forget about you. Even if I practiced for another 50 years, my energy core would still be weaker than his. It's just a few more pressure points. What's the big deal?" the woman muttered. Feeling competitive, she huffed, "Grandfather, so what if he knows a few moves? Our family medicine is #1 in the South Lake District. I don't believe he's better than us at everything. I'm going to challenge him later." Seeing his granddaughter's defiant expression, Tristan could only shake his head. "You'll have to learn the hard way." A few minutes passed. Charlie's acupuncture was finished. He took a deep breath and said lightly, "Mr. Smith will wake up in half an hour. After today's treatment, I guarantee he'll live for at least 5 more years." Honor blurted out, "You're full of it. Even the best doctors said my grandfather only had a month to live, at most. How can you just waltz in here and claim you can give him 5 more years?" Charlie said coldly, "Because I'm Charlie Wade." Honor sneered. "Mr. Wade. If anything happens to my grandfather, I'm coming for you." Tristan's granddaughter, Fiona, stepped forward and said bluntly, "Hey, what medical clinic are you with? Who was your teacher?" Charlie turned his head. "I'm not part of a medical clinic, and I don't have a teacher." Fiona asked, "That's strange. Where did you learn that acupressure technique?" Charlie smiled. "That's a personal matter. I'm afraid I can't tell you." Fiona pressed on. "That is my family's ancestral acupuncture method. I have a right to know, to make sure people aren't stealing our techniques." "Fiona, don't be rude to Mr. Charlie," Tristan said sternly. He quickly stepped forward and said respectfully to Charlie, "Mr. Charlie, my granddaughter's parents passed away when she was young, so please don't mind her." After speaking, he turned and scolded Fiona again. "Aren't you going to apologize to Mr. Charlie? Can't you see that his acupuncture method is superior to our family's? His technique is the ancestor of the tri-point technique. Besides, it's obvious that Mr. Smith has improved dramatically since his treatment." Fiona felt wronged. She gritted her teeth and said, still not convinced, "I want to compete with him. If he's really that good, then I'll apologize." "How long are you going to keep this up?" Tristan was fuming. The middle-aged man from the Smith family standing next to him was stunned. No one had imagined that Charlie's skill was actually greater than Tristan's. Honor was also confused. He wondered if this kid really had some tricks up his sleeve. How was that possible? Just him? Was he really good enough to win over Tristan? Just then, Charlie glanced at Fiona. He saw that her face was full of anger, her cheeks flushed, clearly unhappy. Amused, he asked, "What's the competition?" "Medical skills, of course." Fiona rolled her eyes, and then a smile spread across her face. "The basis of holistic medicine is the diagnostic method, so let's compete on that. Tell me, what kind of illness does every single person in this room have, and what's causing it?" It might sound simple to diagnose a patient's symptoms just by looking at them, but for holistic medicine, it's incredibly difficult. Even Tristan himself couldn't do it perfectly. But this was Fiona's specialty. She had been by her grandfather's side since she was 1 year old and had seen at least tens of thousands of patients. Her memory was incredible, and she could remember almost every illness she'd ever encountered and categorize them. Over time, she had learned to read a person's condition just from their face, and she was almost always right. "Fiona, are you trying to make things difficult for him?" Tristan scolded, clearly displeased. But, to everyone's surprise, Charlie just nodded and smiled. "All right, you're on." Seeing Charlie agree, Tristan didn't say anything else. He was also curious to see what Charlie could do. "I'll go first." Fiona was thrilled. She immediately stepped forward and walked slowly in front of the group, studying each person carefully. 10 minutes later, Fiona smiled and said, "Okay, I'm done. Uncle Smith, you have some redness on your body and horizontal lines on your forehead. You must have high blood pressure. You should stick to a light diet and avoid rich, heavy meals." As soon as she finished speaking, the middle-aged man from the Smith family exclaimed, "The genius Dr. Fiona Finch is truly amazing. Whew, I do have high blood pressure." Fiona pointed to Honor again and said, "Your eyebrows are red and your eyes are cloudy. You have pneumonia, but it looks like you're almost recovered." Honor gave a wry smile. "I'm impressed. I had a bad cough and ended up with a lung infection last week. It's pretty much cleared up now." Fiona added, "As for you, Warnia, you sometimes have irregular menstruation and menstrual cramps, which is likely caused by overworking yourself." Warnia nodded. "You're right." She went on to point out the symptoms of several other people, one by one, and she was correct every time. Everyone was shocked. They praised Tristan for his excellent teaching and were amazed by his granddaughter's medical skills at such a young age. Tristan also smiled, clearly proud of her. Finally, Fiona looked at Charlie again, a triumphant smile on her face. "Mr. Charlie, your condition is the most serious of all. You must have a heart attack." Charlie smiled. "I have to say, for someone not even 20, your medical skills are amazing. I'm impressed too. However, you missed one small thing. Allow me to fill you in." After he finished, he pointed to the middle-aged man from the Smith family. "In addition to high blood pressure, this gentleman also has diabetes and heart palpitations. And I can tell you've had broken ribs on your left side before. I'd guess it's an old injury, probably from over 10 years ago." The middle-aged man from the Smith family was shocked and said with amazement, "Mr. Charlie, your medical skills are incredible. You can even see my diabetes and the old broken bones. I was in a car accident 13 years ago and had a rib fracture." Charlie smiled and pointed to Honor. His lung infection was caused by getting a chill after drinking, which weakened his kidney function. Besides the inflammation in his lungs, his biggest problem is kidney deficiency. You need to clear up the lung inflammation first to treat the kidney issue. Honor was embarrassed. "What are you talking about? My kidneys are fine." No guy likes being told he has a kidney problem, so naturally he wasn't buying it. Besides, even if it were true, he'd never admit it. Charlie looked at him and said calmly, "Kidney deficiency is just a sign of a decline in kidney function. If you keep going like this, it will only get worse. This won't just affect your performance, but it also makes you more likely to develop uremia. So don't be so proud. Take the time to go to the hospital. Maybe it can still be treated. Otherwise, your only option will be a kidney transplant." "You?" Honor was furious. and looked like he was about to lash out, but the middle-aged man beside him stopped him. Charlie then looked at Warnia and said gently, "Warnia, your body is mainly suffering from the lingering effects of that dragon snare, and as it happens, your period started last night, which threw your system a bit more out of balance. But don't worry. Once your period is over, all these symptoms will naturally disappear, and your future cycles will be more regular." Warnia looked surprised and a little embarrassed. She couldn't understand how Charlie could possibly know that her period had started, let alone that it had begun last night. It was unbelievable. Fiona watched as Charlie added these details to her diagnoses. She was surprised, but even more unconvinced. She couldn't see these hidden conditions just by looking at them. But Charlie had barely glanced at them and knew everything. How was that possible? Was he just guessing? Fiona bit her lip and said, "Mr. Charlie, you have a heart attack, am I right?" "Really?" Charlie smiled and held out his hand to Tristan. "Mr. Finch, would you mind taking my pulse for me?" Tristan hesitated, then reached out and placed his fingers on Charlie's wrist. After a moment, he lowered his hand, turned his head, and glared at Fiona. He then yelled, "You're an amateur, and you have the nerve to show off in front of Mr. Charlie? Apologize to him right now." Fiona cries out, "Grandpa, what did I say that was wrong?" Tristan just shook his head, sighed, and said, "Go on. Take his pulse yourself. You're mistaken about Mr. Charlie having a heart attack." "What?" Fiona couldn't believe her ears. She hadn't made a single mistake in her diagnoses in over 10 years, and the signs of heart disease were the easiest to spot. How could she possibly have gotten it wrong? She walked over to Charlie, reached out to take his pulse, and froze. Her face suddenly flushed red. His heart was perfectly fine. No heart disease at all. Had he deliberately faked the symptoms of a heart attack just to make her look like a fool? If he could easily fake the signs of a specific illness, then his control over his body's core energy must be incredible, right? If that was the case, he was practically a man of God. On top of that, he'd seen everyone else's hidden illnesses instantly, without even needing to think about it. His medical skills were far beyond hers. It wasn't just that she couldn't compare. Even her own grandfather was no match for him. But he was so young. How could he possibly have that kind of power?